city. Thank you.
Could you please speak a bit longer? I cannot hear.
Yeah. I will make some effort in the same direction. So, in this presentation, I'm going to present the Green Hub project that, which can be seen as a case study in smart cities, more specifically about sustainable tourism in Natal. And this project is financially supported by CNPq, a Brazilian agency, and has as a partner SEBRAE. SEBRAE is a non-profit organization that makes some support for small and micro Brazilian companies. And of course, IFRN, where I work. So why tourism? Well, looking at this picture, it's quite easy to understand why. Natal is really a beautiful city. You should visit. And we can provide some very different attractions, including camels. Yes, we have camels. They were imported, of course, but they have managed to survive on our dunes. So it's a very interesting thing to do there. And Natal is a tourist city, and the sector there, it's responsible for the most, I would say, important economic activity there. And the second one, the state of Rio Grande do Norte. When we talk about tourism, we are not talking only about one sector, but it involves more than 42 economic sectors. And in Natal, specifically, it represents about 60% of jobs provided in this private sector. So, despite this, and despite our natural beauties, Natal has presented some declining numbers in tourism, and there are maybe a lot of reasons to explain so, but anyway, maybe the 2008 crisis, but what is really concerning here is that, for example, Salvador, Fortaleza, Recife, and Maceió, which are other cities in the same region, the northeast of Brazil, they are, start a sort of recovery process in these numbers of tourism, and Natal didn't, or haven't yet. So tourism is a big industry. This is not. This is related to global numbers. It's about 9% of global GDP, and responsible for many jobs. It's about the same in Natal, as I mentioned before. And this is the good part of tourism. And, as many things in life, we have the good part and the bad part. And so the flip side is that tourism is one of the most pollutant activity. It is responsible for a great part of the gas or carbon equivalent gas emission. And this is most things like transport means. For example, to come here, I had to cross my own country from north to south, from Natal to São Paulo, and then I had to cross the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, to get into Madrid, and then another plane to Lyon, and then a bus to get here. So this is a very bad thing for the environment. So for the good and for the bad, tourism is increasing in not only my country, that is pointed out as one of 10 place to visit. It's about the same in other countries and continents as well. And the forecast for the next years is like an increasing tendency. So the idea of the Green Hub project was to try to answer this question: how to improve sustainable tourism in a win-win approach. And we call a win-win approach this kind of trying to balance the good part and try to provide some kind of solution to mitigate the bad part. So having this in mind, we started the project. This is an ongoing project. We are in the beginning of the second year. And what I'm gonna do from now on during this presentation is try to share this rich but very challenging project and trajectory. So the first thing we had to do was, of course, form a multidisciplinary team, because it's a very complex problem, and we're not supposed to be solved by one single research community. So we have in our team a tourism specialist, and also an environmental engineer and computer science students, and so on. So as applied research, we have to provide some solution for a real problem, a real practical problem. So we have not only one problem, but many problems. Just to mention a few. First, we had to understand the tourism specificities, because I had no idea at the beginning, but the tourism, there are many models and different models for tourism. And Natal has some specificities we have to have in mind. And yes, I had to get this background of my colleagues here. And then we had to make a kind of agreement on what is actually sustainable tourism, what kind of model we could provide. And of course, if you're talking about sustainable model, we had to provide some kind of mechanism to assess this level of sustainability. And here we found a limit of a very well-known approach to deal with sustainability aspects, that is ecological footprint approach. It is based on the amount of biologically productive land. And this is, here was a problem for us, because Natal doesn't fit in this kind of approach, because 9% of our hotels are located in the sand beach. So it's not a proper land to produce food. So it's not possible to use this sort of approach for our project. And I don't know if you are acquainted about this sustainability things or domain, but there are many calculators that you can use in the web, and you put some information about your lifestyle, for example, and at the end the program shows you how much resource or natural resource you need to support your lifestyle. And that it's not uncommon, better saying, that you have at the end, for example, things like you need 2 planets to support your lifestyle. So yes, what can we do with this kind of information? So we would like to provide another type of solution that was more, can I say, feasible and useful for people. So trying to overcome some of these challenges, we start to search in the literature for any kind of models we can use or reuse in our project. But most of them are related to islands. so it doesn't fit as well to Natal, because we are not talking about island, and maybe it's quite easy to understand why it's an island, because tourism is a very complex problem, as I mentioned before, and maybe the island is a more easy, how can I say, context to investigate other problems related. So Seychelles and Madeira, some of these case studies we tried to use, but of course it was not possible. So before I go ahead, and I'm not going into too much details because it's part of my next presentation, but it's important to establish, how can I say, a minimal understanding about what sustainability means, actually. So when we talk about sustainability, it's very common to think about the environmental dimension, because yes, it's the visible part of sustainability. So we see the signs everywhere, the flooding, droughts, things like that. But actually, when we talk about sustainability, we have to include two more dimensions, the social one and the economic one. So later I will discuss more about this. So, and that's it's very common to find some sort of diagrams that make some relations among this or between this sphere or three sphere of sustainability diagram and a more contextualized one. So here we have some sort of that diagram represented in this context, the tourism context or domain. So having faced this problem, we should try another approach or strategy, and we looked for some maybe service provided, I mean, generally speaking, that somehow guide its or their activities by sustainable principles. And yes, we managed to find a hotel 2 hours distant from Natal, and its name is Verde Green. That's quite interesting because Verde in Portuguese means green, so it's double green hotel. So wow, it's the right place to to take some answer for our question. And it's very interesting that when we visit this hotel, we realized that sustainability is actually part of the business. So 8% of their guests have been strongly influenced by this sort of sustainability appeal. So this is make a real difference in the business. And it was also very interesting to see how they practice the sustainability principles by providing some what we call sustainable actions. So for example, here, most of the vendors, or can I say suppliers, are less than the 100 kilometers away. This is all about food miles, so you don't have to transport food from distant places. It's good because you avoid to pollute or to emit gas like carbon equivalent gas at the atmosphere. But they also provide some kind of educational work, not only for their employees, the staff, but also for the guests. That is touch that kind of social dimension of sustainability I mentioned. And they provide bicycles to the guests, really to stimulate the use of this transport, as my colleague who presented. Unfortunately, it was not possible to come from Brazil to here by using your bike sharing system. It could be a very good thing to do for the environment. But anyway, another key aspect we managed to get there is that they are very aware about the certification of such sustainable practices. So they use what we call ISO 14001, that is very common in Brazil. It's a kind of a mechanism to certify the sustainable practice. And well, many other things. They use reforested wood in their furniture, so it's like a good thing. And the most of their employees are very, how can I say, are locals. They really live very close to the hotel, so it's good as well. So after this visit, so we finally reach a situation that yes, now we can put the pieces together. So we identified some key players in this model: the tourist, the service provided, generally speaking, but we substantiated for hotels at this version of Green Hub, and also a certifier authority, because it's important to the hotel, as I mentioned, that their sustainable practice can be, how can I say, certified by some authority. But it's good, well, to explain better the dynamism of these players, how they work together in this, in our proposed solution, that it's like a win-win approach. Maybe it's better to see in this conceptual model. Here we can see the key players, the tourists that providing the certifier. The tourist really the tourist consumes some sort of services provided by a provider, for example, a hotel, and the service of accommodation. And of course, if they like, they recommend, and it's good. And social network plays a very key role in our model. Yes, but all kind of services, I mean, all kind of human activity actually involves some sort of action, and it's supposed to be sustainable or not sustainable. Just to exemplify what I'm trying to say is that, for example, if you stay in a hotel and you use, for example, air conditioning, it's supposed to be not a non-sustainable action. So it's not good for the environment. But if you decide to stay in a hotel that kind of provide sustainable practice like recycling, for example, or green energy production, so it's good for the environment. So this is a sustainable action. And what we try to do in the Green Hub project is to make a balance between this bad part and this good part, making debits and credits in what we call an environment account. So the idea here is to compensate. So at the same time, we stimulate the use of this kind of sustainable services. So it's good for the hotels who provide this kind of solution, and it's good for the tourists as well. And of course, it's necessary to provide some sort of certification mechanism. So, Green me. This is the site of the project. There you can find operational, but prototype version. It's Portuguese, sorry. But yes, so with this prototype, we managed to validate most of our ideas with our partner, the Sebrae. It was a good thing. And just to show you, this is the prototype version of GreenHug. We have GreenHug for people, holidaymakers, tourists, and also for companies, hotels, but restaurants, and so on. One of that, 42 sectors that are somehow involved in the tourism industry, and for certifiers. This is GreenHub for companies or service providers. Yeah, so here we can see one of the functionalities provided by the GreenHub version, which is based on the calculation of carbon emission when you during trip, for example, by using plane. So in this version, we have mapped the total of Brazilian airports. So it was not possible for me to calculate the carbon emission for my trip from Brazil to Grenoble. But anyway, here we have the airport, the origin of your trip, and the destination, and then GreenHug calculates in terms of carbon emission, and it was really difficult to do. This is why we need that multidisciplinary team. And we can, by using GreenHug, we can save historic data. So here you can find your bad contribution for the quality of the air. So, but at the same time, by using GreenHug, we have ranked hotels here. And this is that good thing that serves or works like a stimulus for sustainable hotels, and they are ranked by the total amount of gas they avoided to emit by using sustainable actions. So here we have, just as a prototype, we are not very committed with the preciseness of these results, but just to validate our ideas. And here we have two different hotels that are ranked here. The most sustainable, and the tourist can take this information by using GreenHug and smartphone, for example. And what's about this sustainable practice provided by the Azul Blue? Azul, by the way, is it's blue, so it's a double blue hotel, and it's good. So they provide some actions like recycling and so on. So what is very, very demanding here is to calculate this amount of total gas emission that is not produced. So it's not easy to get this. For example, if you hire or part of your staff is locals, so how can we translate this into this kind of unit carbon emission that we're supposed to use, for example, so it's not necessary for them to take, for example, another vehicle, like just bike, it's okay, or by walking and you get there in a workplace. Yes, so here is a new version we are working right now, and it is more map oriented because we think that it's a good thing to do is to point out in the map, for example, how things like how sustainable a community is. You know? Here we have a list of sustainable actions, and this is more citizen-oriented version. We are not only concerned here about the tourism itself, but also we tried to expand here to this for citizens in general. So here we can see a lot of sustainable actions practiced by citizens in Natal, for example. In more details here, the user can use, for example, images, but photos in order to try to explain what we have done in terms of sustainable lifestyle, in order to, of course, to positively contaminate others, and of course, the videos and this sort of things. If you travel is particularly you know, how can I say, a bad thing to do in terms of sustainability, but also you can use some kind of action description here that is supposed to stimulate someone else to do the same thing. And we can use sort of search mechanism in order to look for sustainable actions to practice. And in this new version, we have the balance, of course, we have the same in the old version, but here we can see in more details our action. Here is a nice student, which is who is part of the team. And yes, here we have these in more details, as I mentioned before. Here, yes, one problem is to classify this kind of actions. Actually, there are many different mechanisms or models to assess sustainability. It's not that easy. This is particularly a problem we have faced during this, this way, the hard path. But anyway, we tried to use a set of sustainability indicators. We had many initiatives, Brazilian initiatives, and we tried to classify. And one very big concern when we talk about sustainability it's related to water, water, and also energy. So there is a sort of a classification schema in order to group these actions, and we are now trying to use other mechanisms like crowdsourcing in order to get this scale in this action, and also gaming or gamification is another strategy or technique we are exploring in this this project right now. So this is the team. We have 8 students. They are very talented, and we are kind of proud of the results we have achieved since then. And these are 2 of my colleagues, which have who have different background, tourism and environmental engineering. So that's it. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you for the first part.
So this is the first part.
We have room for questions.
Oh, please.
And we have online questions.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay. For me, the tourism the pressure is very important for the tourists.
Yeah.
Being sustainable is somehow the conflict to the pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So I think to be pressure, the tourists need a kind of incentive.
Yes, of course.
So they have you considered this kind of incentive mechanism? So if you, for example, if you stand without the air conditioner, then you will have a cup of glass of wine, something like this.
Yes.
Champagne.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, actually, in Japan, we are very sustainable. We must be sustainable for the energy after the earthquake. And there are many companies try to introduce the systems which reduce the energy. But actually, the people have to stand without air conditioner. It's very difficult.
Of course it is.
So some companies try to introduce a kind of point system.
Of course.
If you stand without, if you do some very sustainable things, then somebody give you some points.
Some points.
By using these points, you buy some services, products, this kind of thing.
Yes.
But it's very difficult how to pay, who pay the incentive. This is another problem. But it could be have a good idea to introduce this kind of incentive mechanism. So do you have any idea?
Yes, actually, there is a paradox, of course, because human beings is not good for the environment. This is the real thing you have to put in mind. But we think that could be very interesting to first talk more about sustainability. It's necessary to improve the understanding of what sustainable or a more sustainable lifestyle represents for the planet. This is the point. And the second phase, I would say that having understand this kind of implications of sustainability in our lives, so we can accept that we are part of the solution. It's another good thing. And the third part of this, so we try to collaborate in order to mitigate these aspects. So it's a long way round. I would say it's not easy. Of course, we have many problems and challenges to overcome during this trajectory. So yes, it's not easy. It's quite contradictory, I would say. Of course, for example, in our region, using the air conditioning is a requirement. It's absolutely necessary. So yes. So what are we gonna do? What are you gonna do? Maybe try to compensate with more sustainable things by using more bicycles or maybe recycling in your own house, at home. So yes, this is all about green hug. Yes. Any other?
I will ask one of the questions that come from our online attendants. The first one says, we are currently participating in the design of an energy counter in industrial processes. One of the difficult problems that we address is monitoring energy consuming entities in order to be sure to have a reliable computation, and then try to follow their evolution to assess our computation. Are you addressing such problems? And if you do, which are your strategies?
Yes, so at the beginning of this project, we have one question, and now at this point in time, we have many. So, yeah, so, but for example, in Brazil, right now, this year, we face a very big challenge. We have, how can I say, our energy supplying mechanism or system is provided mostly by hydroelectric, you can say, a turbine. So, and this year we faced a drought in the southeast. It's a very bad sign. Things are not going well. And because of that, we had to use some thermal, I don't know how to say, a thermal turbines or kind of mechanism. And we have now, yes, it's costly, more costly, yeah. And now every Brazilian has to, in your count, yes, yes, so it's part of the solution. Yes, it's, you know, like a financially supporting, and we have this kind of three flags, the green, the yellow, and the red flags, yeah, making reference to the cost of the energy production. And we think that, of course, if you have your billing about energy consumption, and if you are motivated by economic reasons, or maybe for sustainable, you know, reasons, anyway, you can register this, and if you want, based, for example, in a monthly basis, better say, you have the historic data, so you can see that you are in the right direction, because this a month, for example, you pay less than the other. Your consumption decrease, and this is a good thing. And you can put this and try to share with others, you know, what you are doing to achieve this goal. This is a good thing.
I have another online question. It says,
Please.
Sustainability concerns different measures, CO2, heat, water, kilos of trash. Are there equations or rules that determine how to compute sustainability?
So yes, this is one of the challenges. It's not easy. You have many different mechanisms or sets of sustainability indicators and approaches, and you have to look for uh, what that kind of mechanism that better fits with our intention in the project, in the context of the project. But of course, it's not easy to decide which mechanism should we take as a basis for our work. It's quite hard to make this decision, and probably we have to share the same experience many times in order to get some insights to solve part, a short part of this very big problem. Please.
So, but for instance, in Green Cube, in the system, how do you rank the hotels? How do you compute the CO2 production? Because Azul Blue Hotel has 132 points, and the second one, the Posada dos Anjos, 54. So how do you compute that? It's manually.
No, we have worked on formulas in order to try to calculate in a more automatic way, but it's not easy, as I told you. For example, what we have right now is that for hotels specifically, we calculate some sort of a standard, how can I say, stay in a hotel. For example, during one night, you use probably 8 hours of air conditioning in our case, and then you use some sort of electric shower, and then this sort of things, and we calculate this in a very regular basis, and try to characterize the the rooms we have in most hotels we have here there in Natal, and then to try to calculate. Sorry, to calculate this avoidance of gas emission by considering that if that hotel use some sort of green energy production system, so it's supposed to save, you know, how can I say, avoid to emit gas or carbon equivalent gas. And this difference represents what we call the good part, you know, the sustainable action. So it's quite hard to do so, but we managed to do this by considering the specificities of our hotels in Natal. And this is what we realized, that it's not possible to spread the same idea without doing some customization of the green hug to apply to another place. So we are now exploring how to do this in Natal specifically, because we try to collaborate to try to reverse that declining curve. But anyway, we understand that it's not that easy to do the same thing in other places with other characteristics. For example, mountains, what kind of facilities you use in that sort of hotels? That is the point.
It's quite interesting. So, grosso modo, is the hotel that provides the information, or you make some assumptions about the kind of data? But you also said that the user can put some mark using smartphone, for instance.
Sorry?
The user can provide some information about what he or she sees in the hotel.
Yes, this is the idea.
That's good.
Yeah, this is the idea. So you can explore why to stay in that hotel and why it is considered a sustainable hotel, because they are practicing many different sustainable actions, and they are certified by this set of mechanisms.
Remembers me a little bit of TripAdvisor with CO2 options. That's very interesting.
Thank you.
So if there's no other question, I think that we can go on for
the next presentation.
Okay.
So in this, I need some water. Before start the next presentation. So in this talk, I would like to emphasize two different aspects. One of these I have already discussed, sustainability, but also the human factors of smart cities. So yes, so to be or not to be sustainable, according to the scientists, that's not the question anymore. So yeah, we have faced it, and we have seen a lot of these signs that things are not doing so well. And now it's time to go deeper in this so-called three-sphere sustainability to represent sustainability. So in the environmental dimension, as I mentioned in my first presentation, it's all about natural resource use, but also pollution prevention systems or mechanism, And also these two complementary, different but complementary dimensions, social and economic, of course. You have to put this into consideration in order to provide a kind of model for sustainability. And it's interesting to observe that between two of these dimensions, there are some very specific questions or issues you could consider. For example, some subsidies for the use of natural resources, things like that. It's part of this discussion about sustainability. So, a sustainable city must be, according to this diagram or this new concept of sustainability, must be ecologically sound, economically feasible, and socially fair. So it's not possible to provide any kind of solution that do not consider this sort of things. So we have done huge efforts in order to provide what we call a smart or smarter cities. We have attended many different presentations here in this school, and we can list many reasons to live or to choose one city. For example, just to mention a few. Public transportation is very important. Entertainment and restaurant, shopping, networking. So yes, this is part of the discussion about a smart cities model. But what makes a city a desirable place to live? That is human factor. The second aspect I would like to emphasize in this presentation. So it depends on you. It's a, how can I say, semantic problem, because it depends on what you consider valuable for you in terms of job quality, maybe what kind of institution you would like to study. And this is very a personal thing to do, but what kind of activities, outdoor activity, for example, could be very important for you and drive your decision. But also if you are pet friendly, so maybe this is a thing you have to put into consideration, take into the consideration. You have to not problems, but concern about raising children. You have to consider this as well, and for elderly. So in Brazil, we have this sort of index, well-being Brazil index. It's quite interesting to say some results they provide about the happiness in this city. It's all about the relationship between the citizens and the city. So São Paulo, it's a huge city. Everybody knows São Paulo. It's about 11 million people living there. And it is also famous because the traffic jam could reach, miles and miles. But it's a very interesting place. And what it's very interesting to get from this report is that almost 60% of people who live in São Paulo are partially or fully happy with the city. So it's kind of interesting. And it's not a matter of class, because class C or D, and this is sort of economical thing to classify people. Anyway, we can discuss this. It's not the case, but of course you are a class A. You don't have that much concern about traffic jam because like there in São Paulo, people usually take a helicopter and go work by using helicopters. So like a crazy thing to do. But anyway, for Class C and Class B, who have to face the problems of transportation means, so yeah, they are quite happy, very happy actually. And we had, of course, just to exemplify what I'm saying, for example, you can reach almost maybe 3 hours from your home to your workplace. So it's per day, so it's on a daily basis quite hard to face. But São Paulo is also a very, very interesting place. You should visit as well. So São Paulo is the biggest city in Brazil, and it has some particularities related to its size. But at the other point, you have Borá. Borá is a very, very small town, and people are also quite happy. You know, it's about 850 people living there. So it's very, very small. And so this is the perception of happiness, or things that you should consider in terms of when it comes to a sustainable or good place to live. So in between, I mean, from São Paulo to Borá, we have about 5,600 cities. So it's huge, massive numbers and different models of cities, and different particularities we should consider in order to draw a solution that we could call a smart city model. So we think that unfortunately it's not possible to have a one size fits all model for all kinds of situations. For Brazil, it's not. Maybe other realities could be, but it's not our case. And we have this kind of thing, for example, Natal, you know, have many other cities that is like a metropolitan region. Like that. And for example, a person here can live here or here and then use services in other cities. It's quite common. In Natal, we have two very close cities, Natal and Parnamirim. They are so close that it's supposed to be a single one. And people usually, you know, commute from one city to another one. So, as I mentioned before, how do citizens perceive the city? It's quite interesting, I think, and you should consider. We are trying to draw a solution for a smart city. And there are some other things, not only related to the individual perception, because it's quite related with your own necessities, your own impression, but also because for citizens, a city has actually a past, present issues, and the future. So we are not talking about one point in time, but our relationship with our cities is more than this. So when we talk about smart city, it's kind of talk about the future, but you have to include citizen in this sort of discussion. Otherwise, it's impossible to get a really intelligent or smart city, because it depends on semantics, semantic difference, or semantic perception. And this is kind of emotional maps. I don't know if you are acquainted with this kind of things, but people can, for example, point out in the map what they consider a point of interest based in your history, your relationship with the city, and well, what we do believe is that we have to put this into this. So sustainable, it's a requirement. We should do this because we are reaching a very dangerous situation in our planet, so we should consider this, and we have this in mind already. But we also consider this part. But even for sustainability issues, it's quite hard to deeply understand the consequence or the relation things around sustainability. And according to the OCDE, just to give some, how can I say, different guidelines, according to CDC, we have to provide some kind of mechanism that could give equal attention to the three spheres and adequate attention to the longer term. So it's not possible to have a sustainable smart city without considering those three dimensions: environmental, social, and economic. And also another very difficult or challenge in this model is assigning monetary values. It is particularly interesting for our Green Hug project. So assigning monetary values to environmental and social assets for comparison, identifying trade-offs, present positive and negative assessments in order to establish a comparison between this basis, and reconciling conflicts between economic, environmental, and social goals. This is quite a very big challenge to do because it includes that part of the citizen part, the human part of these models. Just to illustrate, let's consider three different projects, sustainable projects, that touch more focus on one of these three dimensions. So if it is considered a sustainable project, so it should attend questions about the three dimensions. But for example, recycling in my country could be a different project. Here, for example, recycling project, it's more about retrieve waste and trying to, to minimize the consequences of waste in our cities. But in our country, it's quite different because it's a very important social and economic program. They are, organized in sort of cooperatives, and they are considered formal workers. It's a good thing, and they use recycling project as a bit of labor. For this agriculture project that emphasize or focus on these environmental dimensions, and the other one, green energy production, that emphasize the economic sphere, economic dimension. So which of these projects can be considered more sustainable? If you are a decision maker and if you don't have money to support the three projects, which one you will select? So it's quite a hard decision, but we should provide some sort of solution for this situation, and this is kind of motivators.
It depends on the type of decision maker you are.
Yes.
If you're the government, maybe you will choose economic because it will be visible.
Probably, yeah, probably. But if citizens are part or are collaborating in this political decision as well, so maybe you have, we will have a different result in this selection process. So in our approach, what we consider a smart city, we are very concerned, as I told you before, in this aspects. This is not my authoring, this diagram, but I pretty much agree with this. So what we consider in our research effort is that, yeah, you should ask citizens about what they think or what they will consider a good thing for smart cities model. And this is a goal of the agenda for the 21st century. And this is presented in not only in a global scale, but also in local granularity mechanism. And yeah, so we have to work hard in order to encourage or to stimulate democratic and civic participation of citizens. And you have nowadays a lot of mechanisms. Some of them you are exploring in our research activities. As I mentioned during the presentation of Green Hub, we are very interested in things like crowdsourcing and social network, because it's quite easy to get the input from people, and also to provide open data in order to stimulate new applications or innovative services. So we are right now for this point in the presentation, I would like to show you the result of a project. It's not finished because it's impossible to say so when it comes to sustainability. So huge problems you have to cope with. But anyway, we are trying to answer or to explore these two questions: how to capture and analyze users' perception about sustainable development. So if we were trying to provide model for a smart city, and you should consider citizens' perception. So how to capture such a subtle or subjective perception? So is it possible to do so? Yeah, so we are trying to answer this question. We like hard questions, are good topics for research. And the second question is, does perception influence the assessment of relevance? Because in that other situation, which of this project could be really considered to be part of our development model? So by considering that smart city models are very, very complex, we decided to use just one part, a single part, I mean, as a strategy. So we got a sustainable agriculture project. It's real. It's produced like a PhD thesis, and why, and try to understand what actually a sustainable project means. And more importantly, is it possible for people to perceive these sustainability aspects of a given project? This is what we done in this experiment. So why this project could be considered sustainable? Because well, it is based on a intercropping technique. It's like an agriculture technique, and considering the environmental dimension of sustainability, it provides natural fertilizer, low impact pesticide, and is well adapted to the semi-arid region in the country, which is characterized by low precipitation. It's quite a big struggle for people who live there. When it comes to social dimension, it provides some sort of family farming technique, and it's good for social, because here in this region, it's Mossoró, the most important economic activity there is related to oil and gas industry. And people, farmers, are leaving their farms in order to work in this industry that is based in a non-renewable resources. So it's gonna finish some point in time. So it will cause a very problem, very big problems in the future. And about economic aspects, this project deals with the increase of family income, because by combining these two cultures, it's possible to have more than two or more than one crop during the year. So it's good by considering economic aspects. So this is an example of a real sustainable project that not only take into consideration the environmental dimension, but also the social and economic aspects, and trying to get the balance among these three different and complementary dimensions. So then we ask people, because it's very important to ask people about their perception, how do they assess sustainability in that agriculture project. So during the experiment, we have two different goals. First, quantify semantic differences in order to evaluate whether or not the background influences the user perception. So your perception about sustainability is somehow influenced by your background, maybe or not. We try to answer this kind of questions. And the second question is, or goal, is to evaluate the relevance of user perception to the enrichment of sustainability knowledge. Is that possible to use this kind of perception in order to enrich the knowledge we have right now about sustainability? So it could be maybe different perspectives about the same thing. That's in essence, it's a good thing. These are different visions about the same problem. So it's supposed to enrich the knowledge we have about sustainability. So yes. In order to run this experiment, we also provide a reference model for sustainability, just putting some very key concepts. And the concepts are sustainable project here, sustainability indicators, and sustainable development. So the idea here is that to explicit, or to make explicit, that all kind of sustainable project produce impact that could be positive or negative impact, and the impact somehow affects the economic and social and environmental dimensions. So if you are planning to provide some solution for sustainable models, we should provide some sort of mechanism in order to assess these sustainability levels. So yeah, all kind of impacts maybe could be assessed by some sort of mechanism, and there are many in the literature we can find easily. And they also apply some set of what we call sustainability indicators. Yes, so this is more about the use of natural resource and the integration with other vocabularies. It's not possible to go into more details, but if people wish, we can discuss later. So during this experiment that we called perception models, the idea was to evaluate this perception model. We had we defined a very objective task, which is describe a given project. That project I mentioned before. That, the idea was to provide only the abstract of the project that's supposed to be the place where you can find more about the project, the whole project. So the thesis is about 200 pages, but we believe that, well, in theory, the abstract have all things you should know about that project. Yes, and then we ask users that were grouped in different, according to their background. We have a computer science group. This is like 3 graduate students. They are studying higher levels in computer science, and also agro groups, which call those students in agricultural related field, and the expert. An expert is someone who has deeply knowledge about agriculture or sustainable agriculture techniques. And then we divided this experiment in 3 different phases. First, we had to train these users into RU facilities. RU is a tool developed by the Lead University in the UK. I had there a postdoc stage. And then we provide some information or present that reference model for sustainability. And finally, we ask people about what or how do they describe by picking some words in that abstract that better, how can I say, represent the sustainability of this of that project. And then we managed to get 7 ontologies. Each one represents the perception model of each of these individuals who participate in this experiment. And well, after that, we made some qualitative analysis and used automatic methods in order to calculate similarity measures. So we have used semantic web technologies for a while, and we are very interested in exploring such mechanisms. So then we did this in an intra-group and intergroup basis. Well, this is just to show you ontologies or the results of the RU, but it's kind of output of RU. For those who use, for example, Protégé in order to conceive or to represent an ontology, it's not a problem. But anyway, it's not important for our discussion here. Well, after this, we get these 7 perception models and trying to make some sort of qualitative analysis. And well, briefly speaking and discussing is not possible. Yeah, we have only 15 minutes left. So, but here we have some very interesting findings that we get from this experiment. One of these is, well, background. It's supposed to be not a very big problem. People are, it's a very small experiment. We have to gain scale in order to be more decisive about the results. But anyway, the computer science student managed to pick some very important or relevant words in order to describe the sustainability of that project. Not only for environmental dimension, but also that sort of social and economic dimensions. what is very interesting is that, for example, for the expert, they use only out of words. I mean, out of words is like the words they use to describe the project actually are not in the abstract. So, of course, they use that experiment in order to include some other aspects that to describe this project, because probably they are she, because it's the author of the thesis, she was an opportunity to give more information about her project. And yeah, she is very confident. Probably this is a result of some sort of related with the level of confidence. It's about the same for the agro students, agro group students, and for computer science, maybe it was quite risky to use another words, but anyway, it happened as well, because people have some maybe initial, but anyway, a background, a very early stage background about sustainability, but we have also overused, with this kind of sustainability aspects, and it's a very, how can I say, sustainability nowadays is like a buzzword, so it's kind of over here everywhere. So that's it. Well, no, I'm not going into the detail, but this is the automatic mechanisms we use in order to inspect these 7 ontologies and get some insights about the semantic similarities automatically calculated by this mechanism, these many different algorithms. But anyway, just to sum up, we find out some interesting things. For example, about the high similarity measures that reflect homogeneity intra group. They all refer the same context to the same domains, and terms are highly related. Maybe they point out some direction in this research. And when it comes to relevance of users' perceptions or the enrichment of sustainability knowledge, yes, we ended up with a high similarity between perception models that is graphically represented here. They are all interconnected. Of course, it's the same project, so it's kind of a natural thing to happen. But well, it's not guarantee of the relevance, but of course, it demands, of course, many other things or many other situations. Depends on human judgment. So what is this about sustainable smart cities? Can we reapply this sort of findings for smart cities model? Well, we believe so. Actually, we do believe in semantic sustainable smart city model, because semantic is all about perception of citizens and what they consider relevant for their needs. And sustainable, because I have already discussed a lot about this topic. Yes, this is what we consider semantic sustainability smart city model. So just to conclude or to sum up, yes, sustainable smart city model should consider citizens' perception. And it's not possible, and we explain this or illustrate it with our reality in Brazil. It's not possible to have only one single model to represent smart cities. And of course, semantic differences, what we have done since then. We started researching this kind of semantic perceptions differences. can be a strategy we can use in this domain. So thanks again for
Thank you.
your attention.
So we have room for questions, and we also have other one. Please.
Did you say that you have to define 7 type of perception models?
Yes.
And summarization of the concept, you have more than 60 type of concepts different to represent the general model. My question is, what was the main difficult during the model definition? The concepts to apply, try to understand the domain of sustainability or how to apply it to computation. Because during the definition of the models, maybe you had many questions to be answered, and to achieve more than 60 different type of concepts for the 7 models, maybe it was really hard to define.
Yes.
What's the question is, what's the difficulty you and your group had to in this definition?
Yes, actually, during this experiment, we tried to set the users free to register what they perceive. It's what kind of a user-friendly rule is a user-friendly tool to do so. They are free to include all kind of concepts they consider relevant to describe that project. So it's a very important point. So we were not interested in guide the user in this experiment. The idea was the opposite, actually. So yes, so each interaction with users with the rule tool provided an ontology that was automatically captured and represented.
Did you reuse or extend some previous ontology? Or?
Yeah, well, they could be, but actually it was not so conclusive about this, because we also were not interested in kind of guides. So we just provide a very short or minimal set of concepts. This is the idea. Try to leave the decision to the user.
I have an online one. It says, could it be interesting to study the relationship between sustainability metering with happiness metering? How does it come that people seem happy in big complexities?
Yes, I have no idea. Actually, it's it's part of these subjective issues. It's kind of a hard thing to capture. Actually, you see. Yeah, so it's like a relationship, emotional relationship with the city. And it's not a matter of size or how complex or difficult to live in a city. Of course, there are people that are quite happy to live everywhere. Oh my God, how is that possible to live in that kind of city? It's like a personal thing. And what we do believe is that we have to take it into consideration. People have to be provided with some kind of mechanism that could be express your idea, your feelings, and we should consider this into these smart cities models.
Because now that I'm reading this question, then if people are happy in these complex cities, it should be difficult to convince them to change the way, to be sustainable if they're already good in that mess.
Yes. So it's quite hard to say something about that. It's like a particular perception. Probably if you have some sort of relationship, as I mentioned before, because you raised in that city, maybe because you have a lot of very good friends there. I don't know, because they like the lifestyle, like Ames or Paul, you know. Who knows? It's really hard to get some reasonable things to investigate.
I have another question here. It says, how is government and civil organizations involved in the transmission of data to be used for measuring sustainability and happiness? Are there national projects in Brazil working in the same direction?
Well, Bernadette yesterday talked a little bit about open data initiatives. So we have this kind of things in Brazil. It's sort of adhere to global guidelines in this direction. But and we tried to use this in Green Hub application, but you know, we were sort of disappointed because there are nowadays not that much information available for cities. Of course, we really would like to use it, but they are not available right now. I think you should make some effort in that direction. So first inform about sustainability, and then to get the promise of the commitment of people. Generally, then try to get some involvement or participation of citizens. Maybe that's the one direction. Okay.
Please.
Yeah, it's very interesting when we talk about crowd sensing. When you mention the emotional map, I believe that I don't understand exactly how you did, but I believe that it's trying to extract some kind of sentiment from tweets or something like that. Because there's some work that I have done that. But you mentioned also about distracting the influences, the perceptions, like from the population. I have two questions about that, because the first is sometimes you have to, in qualitative experiment, you have to find a measure between exciting the population to say something, because you have to hear what they say. Sometimes they're not going to speak some subject, not because it's not interesting, but because they didn't feel that they have to say something about that. And perception of happiness, of feeling good about something is actually making the person feel comfortable to speak about it. And what is exactly the techniques you used to extract this kind of information? It was like an informal talking about the experiment that they have, the experience that they have with the locals and the environment. And after that, the words that come up as that perception, you use some kind of technique to aggregate in terms of to form your semantic and your tree.
Clusterization.
Yeah, you did some kind of ground theory.
In Green Hub project, we tried to use crowdsourcing technique in order to get this participation. And then now we are working on this new professional version. Try to publish it. Maybe App Store, something like that, in order to get scale. But the idea was, people can use, like text in order to provide some information about what kind of sustainable action they are practicing. And after that, of course, we will have a problem to interpret this, and we are planning to apply some techniques in order to identify the overlay of this contribution.
I was talking about that just in my message.
So just to conclude, but in this experiment, it's what was quite different from the Green Hub project, because here the users they use rule facilities. So it's kind of user-friendly, but it's very ontology-oriented. It's quite different. The output that comes of this project. So
Yeah, thank you.
did I answer your
Yeah,
question?
yeah. It's the way that you do the semantic is actually like trying to understand the cluster of words and seeing the perception of the. It's a small experiment and it's very limited to the subject that you
Of
were.
course.
Yeah, but that's why I said that seeing crowdsourcing is very promising because you can try to analyze sensing by just feeling how people are spending time in some areas or not.
Yeah.
Like feeling in Brazil, we spend a lot of time in shops,
Yeah.
shopping and everything.
Yeah.
So making this, making
In a
people
public
less
space,
spend less time inside such buildings and being outside in a plaza or something like that in the beach. It means that the quality, the life
Could be
standard
a little
is
bit different.
changing a little bit. People are perceiving the city as a more happy place. So crowd sensing it's a kind of promising area to perceive the feelings about the city.
So we believe that, for example, applying big data, probably techniques, we can find a lot to social networks, sort of, then try to apply semantic techniques, for example, to try to understand what actually about. Maybe yes, it's we have one question at the beginning and many others at the project.
Thank you very much, Claudia.
My pleasure.
Some practical announcements. After lunch, there's a get-together with the Brazilian delegation and the International Relations of University of Grenoble. So people will be presenting their institutions, and Grenoble University will present also the university in order to have, to exchange information and see which are the administrative tools that are provided by both institutions in order to collaborate. So I understand that some of you might not be interested in attending, so we understand that. Then at 4:15, we will all meet in the Saint Laurent Museum in order to have a visit to the museum. I really encourage people that have not been lately in the museum because it was remodeled and it's a very interesting experience to go and visit it. And then at 19:30, there will be a dinner at restaurant Les Cinq. So if you would like to join us, I am going to ask my colleagues to have a list if you are willing to come and join us in the dinner so that we can organize logistics with respect to that. And in the meanwhile, I tell you bon appetit for lunch. The list or where people can write their list.
Na verdade, o que eu estava
Sí, van a la anotación. Okay. Thank you for attending. Yes,
Já
try
já
to
tá
come.
pronto, a
There
gente
are
vai-
still other interesting things that will be said. Thank you.
Mas você vai para o jantar? Quero sentar.
I won't be able to come.
Oh, no. But thank you for having. I understand. Yes. Thank you for having come to the school. We will provide some contacts and information if you're willing to contact some Brazilian institutions. We will provide such information.
Thank you,
Thank you. Bye bye. He's a biker. He's a biker.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Like,